Hi, and welcome back. In this lecture, we're going to talk about key insight one: ethical, purposeful, and sustainable. So, with this whole climate change, green economy, sustainability, and pollution coming into mainstream discussion, businesses are focusing on the rising consumer demand to change and adapt their business practices towards a much more greener, much more reduced carbon footprint operation. So, consumers nowadays are not interested in only buying products and services. They are also very much concerned on how it's made, what's the process, the story behind it, and also who are the people involved in delivering these products and services to their hands. And also, are the manufacturing plants sustainable? What's their carbon emissions? So, a lot of consumers are starting to realize the implications of their purchases, and they are putting pressure on manufacturers and suppliers to change course towards a much more greener and a better future. Then the rise of ESG, or what we call environmental, social, and governance frameworks. So a lot of companies are adopting these frameworks to ensure that we reach something called stakeholder capitalism, where we focus on the interest of all the stakeholders, including customers, communities, suppliers, and all the other players involved in business operations, and taking all their needs and concerns into consideration when formulating strategy and executing business plans. And also, we're seeing consumers are willing to pay more for products and services that meets their value. So consumers, especially Gen Zers, so basically people who are born between 1997 and 2012, are willing to pay more for products and services that support their values and have a less negative impact on the environment. And we are also seeing employees have found their voice. So employees are finding their voice and demanding employers for better wages, opportunities, growth, and development. So we're seeing employees walk out of their work and demanding that immediate action being taken against environmental concerns, social injustice, privacy concerns, monitoring of employee movements, and a lot more in the recent past. And also, from a customer's perspective, we are seeing companies being boycotted by customers. So, this is commonly known as cancel culture, where inappropriate or morally unacceptable views and actions are exposed, and the company's products and services are boycotted in massive numbers by customers. So with the rise of social media, this is all possible because it's very easy to share any kind of misappropriate or misalignment or morally unacceptable scenario or product or service or even an advertisement that a company makes and publishes, and to basically highlight them and to force them to change their course. And also, from a business perspective, this is extremely dangerous because you might not know of what kind of people you might offend when you're making advertisement or when you're naming products and services and things like that. So it's very dangerous, and companies need to be concerned and have empathy on naming their products and services, and also while making advertisements, because minority communities or people of color might be offended, and then it will be a PR nightmare for the business, and the damage to the brand reputation will be something that cannot be repaired very, very easily once you get a bad name out there. Then we have things like aggressive targets to combat pollution, reduce carbon emissions, and giving back to their communities. So businesses are starting to understand the changes in consumer patterns, and also they are internally driving very aggressive targets like decarbonizing their supply chain, getting rid of all the single-use plastics, reaching carbon negative footprints, and also providing more opportunities to their part-time employees as well as gig economy workers. So companies like Uber have a lot of employees who work as Uber drivers who are not protected like a normal full-time employee. So businesses are starting to realize the importance of their contribution as well to the workforce, and are making the necessary changes to support their growth, development, and career path, as well as provide them with healthcare insurance and benefits of that sort, which normal full-time employees are eligible to. Then we come to another important aspect of measuring the impact. So creating metrics to measure and monitor like diversity, equity, and inclusion, or what we call DE and I. Also things like greenhouse gas emissions, as well as reduction targets, number of purpose-driven products and services, and most companies have now tied those kind of targets to executive compensation as well to drive aggressively towards achieving those targets and goals. Then this is another phrase that's been thrown around a lot these days of finding your purpose. purpose. So what's the core reason for your company to exist, and where can your business create a unique and positive impact on society? So not only why your company exists, but how are you going to justify it properly? So let's say you're a healthcare provider and you want to ensure that you democratize healthcare and make healthcare affordable. So that's your purpose. So how are you going to achieve your purpose? And are everyday business operations tied to achieving your purpose? And how do you know if you achieved it? So those sort of questions must be asked to ensure that you kind of create metrics to measure whether you're really living your purpose and calling for your business. Authenticity is the key. So this is another factor that we are seeing in the recent past and will continue to see in the future. So transparency is important, and so is your story. So what's the story of your business? Why did you start it? And how have you overcome the challenges in the past? And what are you planning to achieve in the future? So telling the story of your business in a way which impacts and captivates the hearts of consumers, putting people at the center of all your decision making process is very, very important. So one of the best examples for these kind of players is the multinational company Coca-Cola. And if you look at their advertisements, it's really captivating because it kind of makes you relatable to the product. So consumers want themselves to relate to the brand, not just buy a product or service. So they want brands to have or share the same values and principles that they themselves stand for and value most in life. And also amplify consumers to become brand ambassadors. So it's all about creating a community who loves your brand and embraces it. They want to wear your brand. So businesses follow a variety of methods to make this happen. So number one is crowdfunding, where consumers get together and they get the consumers to design the products. They get the consumers to modify the product. They get the consumers to give feedback so that whatever you develop will be a product that consumers will instantly fall in love and embrace. Then there's customization, where you get consumers to customize the product based on the consumer's preference and interest, not what you want, but what they want. And also things like collaboration, where you co-create with consumers, and then building communities so that consumers start promoting the brand and the business to their own inner circles. So one global player who's doing this is Tesla, where consumers act as brand ambassadors to promote the vehicles to their family and friends. Then we have things like ethical culture and overall employee well-being. So increased standards of occupational safety in the workplace. So especially after the COVID-19 pandemic, there's so much greater focus on improving the mental well-being, the mental health of employees. So understanding things like burnout, depression, and other sorts of mental and social issues that might encounter in employees in high pressure working environments. So companies are focusing on addressing those kind of changes and needs as well, and also increasing the flexibility of the working environment. So your working schedule will be designed by you and not by the company. So it's all about getting the results done, and it's not about spending 9 hours in one place doing the job. It's getting results done. Well, those are a few aspects as far as Key Insight 1, ethical, purposeful, and sustainable is concerned. I'll see you on another lecture.